All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Cheyenne is in office with me. Hello.
Hi.
She's super excited. She is officially official as of what? A couple days ago? Officially official. So we have Charles, Belle, and Rebecca on the line. So you'll get to meet them all eventually. For those of you joining us virtually, I do have some handouts here. They will be emailed to you after the presentation. So you'll get those in your email. I'll have Tori scan those over to you so that you have them. And this is recorded. I have to let everybody know so that the people that weren't able to join us will be able to see it later on. You can also reference it later on. So I'll go ahead and I'll post it on the ROGU website. All right, without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. Today's all about open house training. If you've never done an open house, this is going to tell you how to get started doing an open house. If you have been doing an open house and you haven't really had much luck getting leads off of your open houses, this may be able to kind of pinpoint as to why you're not getting a lot of traffic or why you're not getting a lot of leads. I always tell newer agents that the open house, even though the seller wants you to do an open house, so they're getting that marketing out there and there's really good reasons for that. The whole purpose of the open house is not necessarily to sell the house that you're doing an open house at. It is a way for you to gain leads either through buyers or through the neighbors that may also be wanting to sell their home. It's a great way for you to get out there, to network, to market. And if you have the listing, it could also be a good way to sell the home. Now, 90% of the time, you're going to do an open house for a seller and you're not going to sell the house at the open house. So a lot of agents say, this is a huge waste of my time. I'm not going to do these. I didn't even get one offer. I only got 2 people through. And I can tell you that open houses are a great use of your time if you're doing them properly. I think over the course of 16 years, I've gotten 2 offers because of an open house, because of like somebody that literally walked through the door, saw the house, fell in love, bought that actual house out of 16 years. It's only happened maybe once or twice. But what I can tell you is that I was able to show my value to my sellers by doing an open house. I was able to do the marketing properly. I was able to boost their listing on multiple sites by advertising it as an open house. And I was able to convert a huge amount of leads that walked through the door or people that called me after who were interested in seeing that home, whether they bought that home or something else. So we're going to take a deep dive into it, and feel free to stop me at any time. If you have any questions, give me your feedback. Let me know kind of, what your experience has been when doing open houses. So as I switch over to my screen, I'm not going to be able to, see you. So please, if you raise your hand, I may not see it. So just unmute yourself and holler out if you need anything. Any questions or anything to share before we get started? No? All right, let's roll. Okay, let's see here. Jumping in. Open house training for real estate agents. Unlock the secrets to hosting a successful open house and captivating potential buyers. All right. So Realty One had this cute little video that I just wanted to put in here because I thought it was cute. So let me see if we can play that here. All right. I love that. I absolutely love that, because if you read it, it says, and let me click back here so you can read it. Think of your home as a store that's open for business. And I think that's something that we lack as real estate agents a lot, is we're not treating it like a business. There's not a whole lot of training on how to do open houses. Basically, they tell you, you go out to the house, you advertise it on the MLS. It's going to be open Sunday from 1 to 3. And you put a sign in the yard and then you bring some cookies or something. That is the wrong way to do an open house. You're not going to get any traffic. It's going to be a total waste of time because you haven't properly prepared. The lead up to the open house is more important than the open house itself, because that's when all of your marketing happens. That's when all of the eyes are on you. That's where you're getting your face out there, telling everybody that you have a listing and you're doing this outstanding job at marketing this home. The lead up to the open house is when the buyers are paying attention. And if they're not paying attention to you at the lead up, they're not going to show up at your open house. So we need to make sure that we're doing the proper steps to market not only the property and the event, but ourselves as we're leading up to that big day. Let me click through here since we already watched it. Okay, so the very first step is preparation. Preparation is everything when it comes to an open house. There has been so many times where we've had agents come in. They have an open house on Sunday, and then they want to stop into the office on a Saturday to get an open house sign. And it's like, why hasn't the sign been in the yard for an entire week? Why don't we have directionals on the corners of the lot? You haven't been advertising this open house. Well, it's in the MLS. Well, just check in the MLS, other agents, right? Now, I can tell you that preparation is everything. You want to prepare for the open house at least a week in advance. So if you have a Sunday open house and it's Monday, you should be popping those signs in. Pop those directionals in, pop those open house signs in. Make sure you have a rider on it that says open Sunday 1 to 3 on your main sign. And then you've got all your directional signs. So it's all about preparation. You want to maximize the buyer's interest through preparation, ensures that the property is presented in the best light, attracting more potential buyers to the open house event. And you want to make sure that you're streamlining the process. So come up with a process flow that you can do in each and every one of your open houses. And I'm a big checklist person. Tori over here is a big checklist person. We have a checklist for everything. Make yourself a checklist. This is how I, as a business owner, want to run my open house. So first thing is I'm going to communicate with the seller that we're having an open house and set a date and time. And then step 2 is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and book that open house in the multi-list an entire week before the event. That way it has the opportunity to IDX feed to the entire internet. And you've heard me talk about IDX feeds before. Why do we want that IDX feed out there? What happens when we go into the multi-list and we put Sunday, we're having an open house from 1 to 3? What happens with that information? Can anybody chime in and give me a guess? No? Anybody online? Can you chime in, give me a guess of what happens with that information when we put it into the MLS? Everybody's quiet today.
It just sits on the MLS. It just stays there?
No, it doesn't just stay there. No, it just doesn't stay there. So it does go on the MLS. It's letting all the other agents know that we're having an open house. But that IDX feed means that about 140 sites, it changes all the time, comes in at night and they crawl that information. So they take all the information that we're putting in throughout the day, they basically steal it all with our permission, and they put it to their sites. So that's how Zillow gets the information that we're putting into the system. So we put something in the MLS, Zillow goes in at whatever their timeframes are. Every business is different. They scrub all that information down, see what has changed, and then they pop it on their site. So depending on where these leads and buyers are looking, you want to make sure that your information is across the web. So if somebody's using the Zillow app and they're looking in, say, the city of Newcastle for a house, the minute you put that open house in there, it's going to alert them and send a push notification to their phone that says, by the way, there's an open house with, at this address at this time that you may be interested in. It's a way for that company to draw those consumers back to their site. So they're using your information as a way to market for their third-party site. So it's important to put that MLS open house on there as soon as possible. So like I said, I used to do it on a Monday if I had open houses on a Saturday or a Sunday, because I had more than enough time. But keep in mind that all of these sites crawl at different rates. So some of the third-party sites might do it in real time. Some of them may do it 3 days later. So if you're putting in open house details in there the day before the event, chances are nobody knows about it. All right, so streamline your process. You're going to set the open house time and date. You're going to go ahead and put that in the MLS. You're going to start putting that on social media. That same day, you're going to pop those directional signs in the yard. You're going to want one in front, one on the corner. There's another street to the left of the property that has high traffic. We're going to pop those in. put your riders on the main sign that says open Sunday from 1 to 3. And then maybe Wednesday, you're going to go in and just do a once over on the house and make sure that, the house is light and bright. There's no new repairs. Maybe the house needs to be cleaned. But what you should be doing is creating this checklist for you to do at every open house before the open house, not during, but before the open house. During the open house is the easy part. It's before that everybody misses. Once you get through and you're getting into the open house, you want to gather some insights from the buyers. So you want to observe the buyers, you want to watch the buyers, you want to ask them open-ended questions, ask them for feedback on the property, ask them what they've been looking for in a home, ask them how long they've been looking. Are you working with an agent? You're not, can I tell you what an agent does for you? Those are kind of the questions you want to ask. You don't want to open the door and say, oh, come on in and take a look around. Let me know if you need anything. I'll be in the kitchen. You want to take them through like you would any other buyer, show them the positive attributes of the house, and then ask open-ended questions to get to know them. That is how you build lasting connections with people and end up turning these leads into clients. All right, so let's go a little bit deeper into preparing the actual property for the open house, because this is always the question that I get is, say you've scheduled your open house for a Sunday. It's now Monday. You've got it into the system. It's coming to Wednesday, and you're going to go over there and you're going to look at the house just to make sure that everything's okay. Maybe it's a vacant property. Maybe the owner lives there. So if the owner lives there, you're going to want to go through these steps with them in ample time so that everything is prepped for Sunday. If it's a vacant house, you may be walking through yourself, just kind of making yourself your own checklist to give to the seller. Or if they're an absentee seller, this may be things that you need to do on your own. So it's important to prepare the property so that you are showing it in the best possible light at the open house. So you want to make sure that the property is deep cleaned. You want to make sure that the floors are vacuumed and scrubbed. There's not mud all over the rugs. Take the rugs outside and dust them off over the porch. Make sure all the garbage is put away. You want to check things like the dishwasher and the refrigerator and the stove and make sure they're tidy, especially if those appliances are going to be sold as part of the property. Don't forget those items. Make sure there's no additional damage if the house is vacant. I mean, we have a lot of instances where people move away, they've relocated, they've moved to another state, and then maybe we had a storm and some shingles blew off, and now we've got some dampness or staining on the ceiling. So we want to go in and we want to prepare for that. Declutter and depersonalize the space. If it's a lived-in home and there's toys everywhere, let's make some type of game plan to put some of those toys away just for that day. Help your clients stage the property if you haven't done so already. I know a lot of us do this when we go and take the photos of the property, but make sure that things are in the right place so that the rooms look as big as possible so that you can navigate through the home without tripping. Keeping in mind that the clients that we get into these properties are going to be of all different walks of life, all different age groups, may have, disabilities that we have to help them navigate through the home. So just keep that in mind, as you never know who's going to walk in that door. So just prepare ahead of time and make sure that it's accommodating for every person that walks through the door. Lastly, is you want to instruct them to make sure that they open all the curtains. Let the home air out if it's summer or spring, if it's warm enough. Let the house air out a little bit before the open house. Make sure you're replacing all burned out light bulbs. Turn on and off all the switches and make sure they're working properly, because the last thing you want to do is do an open house with a gorgeous kitchen, and you get there the day of the open house, you go to turn the lights on, there's no lights, and it's dark as heck, and it's the actual selling feature of the home. So just stop by. This whole inspection of this property, I know it seems like a lot of extra steps, especially when we're all busy, but usually when I would stop into an open house, this would take me all of 15, 20 minutes. Tops. And I was usually already in the area doing something else. I just swing in real quick, like, hey, let's do a walkthrough. Or if the house is vacant, let me run through here real quick. Check. Oh, the floors are a little dirty. I got to bring back a Swifter the day of the open house. Make sure I get that cleaned up. Or I'm going to bring a couple light bulbs with me when I come early for the open house, and I'll go ahead and pop those in. So just get prepared for your open house before the open house happens, because if you show up 30 minutes before the event, you've got a mess on your hands. Trust me, the one time it happens, you'll learn to regret it. All right, developing a comprehensive home marketing plan. Step one is you want to identify your target audience. So we talked about the lead up and the marketing of the open house is, in my opinion, even more important than the open house itself, because this is how we're marketing. This is where your money's at. Identify your target audience. So let's take an example of a house. Last open house I did was on Harrison Street in Newcastle. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home with an enclosed sunroom. The house was listed for $99,000. Had a decent yard. It's on the Upper East Side of Newcastle. And to me, looking at, okay, who is likely to buy this property when I listed it would be probably a first-time home buyer or somebody who is moving up for the first time using some type of government loan. So FHA, VA, something of that nature. So I was able to go through with the seller and say, okay, these are the repairs we need for FHA. So I was able to identify my target audience when I listed the property. That is how that demographic that you have established is how you are going to determine your marketing strategy. So if I know that this property that I already know is probably going to be a first-time home buyer type of home using FHA or VA, I'm really going to hone in on the fact that it's been recently remodeled, all FHA repairs are done, and if anything's found, I've already talked to the seller, he's willing to repair them. This is going to be low initial maintenance for somebody because we know first-time home buyers usually, not always, but usually don't want to get into heavy remodeling and repairs and replacing furnaces. So you really want to hone in on, okay, it's got a brand new kitchen. The hot water tank was just installed 2 months ago. The furnace has been inspected and serviced. The furnace is only 3 years old. Roof was put on less than 6 years ago. FHA ready. So that's going to be my demographic. That's how I'm going to structure my marketing for my open house to bring the right people in. What I wouldn't want to do is target the wrong audience. So this house had 4 steps in the front to get up to the front door. The living room, dining room, and the kitchen were on the first floor. And then you had to climb another set of steps to get up to the 3 bedrooms and the bath. That tells me that it's probably not going to be ideal for somebody who's a little older, and we're not discriminating against age. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, show it to somebody who's older. And by older, I mean anybody over my age, and I'm, not that old. I'm just saying that it's probably not the majority. It would probably be more of the minority that would be looking at this house due to the steps. It's not going to be probably ideal for somebody who does not want to do the steps. So targeting the wrong audience can actually hinder your ability to gain leads from your open house marketing. So you just want to make sure that you're marketing correctly, but keeping fair housing laws in mind. All right, so next you want to leverage your digital channels and leverage them heavily. I mean, you can promote your open house just about anywhere. We already talked about the MLS. You're going to do it on the MLS. That's a given. But back when I started is we had, and you guys may not even know what these are, but we had what was called the Homes Guide. Has anybody seen the Homes Guide? Does Howard Hanna still use the Homes Guide? So the Homes Guide was this paper booklet, and you would go to Giant Eagle or Shop and Save or wherever you shop for your groceries. And it was this booklet that we all put, it was a black and white booklet, and you put a picture of your house, like 2 little lines, and then when it was going to be open. And that's how we advertised our open house way back in the day. And that was like the big thing, was the Homes Guide. So you can definitely, I don't even know if they have the Homes Guide anymore, but you can definitely put your marketing into print advertisement if you want to. I can just tell you that the majority, not everybody, but the majority of people are looking through digital channels now because the internet is everywhere. So I would suggest definitely leveraging your digital channels. And by that, there's lots of different things you could do, your website, social media, email, but I have always found great success with marketing on social media, especially on Facebook. And again, I know that Facebook is like the old person's social media, but for real estate, it is imperative. So make sure your house is listed on Facebook Marketplace, go ahead and schedule an event, a Facebook event. If you don't know how to do that, I'd be happy to walk you through that. A Facebook event for your open house. Start putting out those advertisements. You can do that right through One Design of open house this, open house, join me here. And you can actually invite people to your event if you're posting that on Facebook as well. So if you're posting it out there as an event, an open house, you can invite your friends and followers to that open house too. You can literally invite them all, and it's going to send them a notification that you're having an open house. So start leveraging those digital channels and create captivating visuals. Do not, and I think this goes without saying, is we're not just going to go ahead and do a Facebook post that says, oh, I have an open house at 123 Main Street on Sunday, come see me, with no photo. You want to make sure that you have a photo, you have a video, you have something that captures people's attention. Just because plain old text gets no followings, nobody reads it. You want to make sure that you have something visual there to guide them into reading your message and having them actually obtain the information that you're giving them. Any questions so far on this stuff?
Yeah, I feel like since I moved into the house I live in now, like I've gotten postcards, from like houses that are, probably for sale within the area that I live in.
Mhm.
Do you feel that that is a good way to market, or like, what's your perspective on that?
I love postcards. So I use postcards a lot. I love them. I think it really depends on your preference. Are they going to be 100%, or is there like a 100% return on postcards? No. Postcards are great for branding and getting the information out there, getting your face out there. Again, we'll go back to, it takes seven impressions before somebody remembers your name. So it's great for one of those impressions. So when I list something, I send out the 5, 5, and 10 postcards. So I go on, you can do them through the One Print Center, which is super easy because it's linked to all of your listings. You go onto the One Print Center, you put in the address, it's going to send it out to the closest neighbors. It's already made for you. It's a beautiful system. But there's lots of other programs out there too. I've used Prospect Plus, I've used Quantum Digital. They're all really, really great programs. They all do exactly the same thing. They're all about the same price. But the only caveat is that the One Print Center, you don't have to design it. It's all branded for you. The colors are in there. And you just literally say, this is the address I'm having an open house on. This is the time I'm having the open house. And you click generate, and it makes this beautiful postcard for you. So in that One Print Center, you can do those. You can do those for just listed, just sold, open houses. But again, some people look at them and some people grab their mail and just toss it in the garbage. So it really just depends. It's not really targeted marketing, but it definitely can hurt.
Yeah, I feel like it probably would reach the target of people who don't use social media a lot.
Yeah, what it's going to do is it's going to tell the neighbors, and that's important too. We're going to talk about talking to the neighbors before we're done here today, because that is going to be one of your biggest lead sources, is the neighbors surrounding that house. So let's go a little bit more into social media. So the amount of traffic that you can get through social media is immense for $0. For $0. And don't get me wrong, there are ways to boost and do geo-targeting and paid social media advertising to make sure that you are reaching the type of leads that you want to reach. And those are available in your ad settings in Facebook. One thing that I love is whether you're using Facebook or Instagram, and it seems to be like, an age split on there, who uses what. The minute you post an ad on Facebook, it automatically, unless you untoggle the button, it automatically goes to Instagram too. So if you're a lover or hater of one or the other, if you do it in Facebook, if you start in Facebook, it will bump to Instagram as well. Now you can post your social media ads very quickly with little to no experience for just a few dollars. And they have this slider on there that will tell you, do you want to spend $5? Do you want to spend $10? Do you want to spend $1,000? And then how many days do you want this ad to run? So just depending on what your intention is with the ad, that will determine how you're setting that up. And you want to make sure, if you have not joined us for our marketing and our AI trainings, we'll be rolling those back in again at the end of the year. Make sure you get on there. That's where we talk about all the things that you can do with marketing and how to actually do them. But you do want to make sure that your ad has a very clear message. Are you inviting them to the open house? Are you inviting them to the virtual open house? Are you just talking about a new listing? Like, what are you talking about? You want to have a call to action on there. Please come join me. Open house Sunday, 1 to 3. Here's the address. Do you want to provide a teaser and then a button? So you have the option of putting buttons on your social media that says book now or get more information. And that actually makes the lead have to click your ad to be able to get the full information. So there's lots of ways that you can do this, but I can tell you that even if you're using the unpaid version, getting as much information out into your social media accounts for your open house will make or break the results that you have at your open house. It will make it or break it. So if you want to make money off of an open house, you have to follow these steps in advance, or else nobody's going to even know that you're there. And then you're sitting in an empty house and that has no internet in a stadium chair, being bored out of your mind. And we've all been there. It's the worst. It's the apps. And if the water's not on and you have to tinkle, it's a whole problem. So let's make the most of these open houses. All right, now we're talking about open house signage and directional aids. This is a point of pain for me. This is a point of pain. Your signs and your directional signs are everything, especially if the house is not on a main busy road. You have to be able to direct these people in to your event, and you should be doing that a week in advance, not the day of. Please do not show up 5 minutes late for the open house and pop in a yard sign. You will be sitting in that house all alone, and then you'll be at my desk saying, I'm not doing any more open houses. This is a waste of my time. I'm not doing it anymore. I promise you that's what's going to happen. Make sure those open house signs and directional signs are out the Monday before your open house. So put your open house signs on the busy corners, go to the right, go to the left, and put those directing them in. Get that open house sign in the front, and then put your rider on Sunday, 1 to 3, Saturday, 12 to 2, whatever it's going to be. Get that rider on there. So it's directing traffic in to drive past your house. And then they see, oh, it's not today. It's Sunday, 1 to 3. So maybe they're going to come back, or maybe they're just going to call you off that sign and say, hey, I'm busy Sunday. Can you meet me Friday? And that happens. So make sure that you have your signs there. For those of you who are just in your licensing now, you get signs when you sign up, when your license is accepted and done. So don't worry about trying to go out and order those. We get you all set up with those so that you have those ahead of time. And we always have extras in the office. Now, in addition to signage, I just didn't use like the directional signs. I used them, but that's not all I used. There's so many different things out there that you can buy or that you can use to bring additional traffic in. So I would put my directional signs up ahead of time, showing that it was an open house. I would have my open house in the front yard. I'd have my rider there on the bottom. And then the day of the open house, I would show up early and I would put up flag signs. If anybody doesn't know what a flag sign is, please ask me when you're in the office. I'll show you one. They're super cool. They are super cool. So you can get flag signs that say open house, and they kind of flap in the wind to let people know that you are inside. And you can have these flag signs like customized to you if you want, where it says agent on duty or open house, please come in, or open showing, or whatever you want it to be. You can have that custom designed on there. In addition to that, I would get balloons. I'd have balloons out on my signs. I would have, I always use the ones where they come on a stake. So I would put the balloon on the stake and then pop them in the yard, and I would pop them down the sidewalk. So if it was a house that had a sidewalk, and you know how there's always like that little strip of grass on the other side of the sidewalk in some cities, I would pop those down the street so that the balloons were showing. Also, what's great is that if you use helium balloons in the winter, the minute you take them outside and they get cold, they die. So if you blow up balloons with oxygen and you tie them to these posts, they don't die because it's oxygen. So they're great for winter use as well. But so there's lots of different things you can use to direct traffic in. I have seen, not around here, but I always thought it was an amazing idea that I have seen sign twirlers, like high school kids, where agents have been like, hey, I'll pay you $25 if you stand out there for 2 hours and twirl a sign for me, or I'll pay you $50 if you stand out there and do this and bring people in. And they would have one of those big, yellow signs that say open house with these kids, these 16-year-olds twirling signs at the end of the block. I've never done it, but I've seen that when we were on vacation. I just thought that was the coolest freaking idea ever. So if any of you guys have kids that are age appropriate enough to be left on a street corner alone, maybe put them to work. So just look up child labor laws beforehand, full disclosure, so nobody sues me. But I'm saying that if I was still doing these, I would have my son out there twirling signs. So like, mom's not giving you any more gaming money. You're not going to get any more Steam credits or Xbox credits until you go twirl a sign for 2 hours, so just food for thought. But get creative to drive traffic in, because the more creative you are, the more you are doing things that other agents aren't doing, is the more eyes and the more recognition and the more business you're going to get, because all agents get into a habit of doing things exactly the same way across brokerages. Don't get into that habit. Don't get into the habit where you're like, oh, well, Jerry over here at ABC Realty Company, well, he doesn't do that, so I'm not going to do it either. Well, that's why Jerry is starving. So don't be like Jerry. I don't know who Jerry is, but don't be like Jerry. So be unique, be innovative, think outside of the box. And the minute you do something that nobody else is doing, you are going to have a leg up on the market, the competition. And chances are other agents are going to start doing it too. So you're ever going to need to grow and change with the times, but find out what is unique to you when it comes to open houses. All right, questions thus far? Nothing? All right.
I do. As far as, kind of going back to the steps of making sure the house is ready and the staging.
Yeah.
Like staging, do we kind of set that up? Is there certain companies, or do we what is your process as far as staging?
So it's all relative to the house that you're selling and the services that have been ordered by the seller. So traditionally we're talking like Lawrence County. If we're talking about an average run-of-the-mill property that is vacant, not saying that people don't stage, they do. It's not very common that people will call in a stager and have a full out stager. It's super, super expensive, and there's not a whole lot of stagers in this market. Not saying that will not always be the case, but in the case right now, there's really very few opportunities to physically stage a property. When we're talking about staging for an open house, that's where we want to go into the property, and we want to make sure that if the home is lived in, we're putting away things, we're putting away trip hazards, we're taking down all of the, the personalized items in the house, like the kids' photos. So you want to check with the seller, like, do you want to take these children's photos down? Do you want to now pack away your valuables? Because unlike a traditional showing where we have one buyer and one agent in the house at any given time, an open house is very different. You may have, maybe one or two people show up at different times, or what likely happens, and it almost always happens this way, is that you're sitting there and then nobody's there. Then all of a sudden you get one person in, and then another car pulls up and another car pulls up. And pretty soon you have 5 people or 5 couples or 5 families all in the house at one time. So you do want to notify your seller if the home is occupied that there is a higher risk or a higher likelihood that if somebody's going to trip and fall, it's going to be during an open house, or if something's going to get stolen or broken, even by accident, it's going to happen at an open house. So you want to make sure that all those items are being put away, put out of reach, hard to get to. Anything that's valuable or breakable to those sellers, especially things that have sentimental value, are put away. You're going to put away kids' toys. You're going to make sure that there's no tripping hazards with rugs, that the furniture is kind of pushed out of the way. So if we have somebody who has mobility issues, they're not struggling to get through the house. So those are the types of things we mean by staging.
And what happens if, like, say something gets taken? You know what I mean? Like who's liable? You know, what happens?
So your seller should have homeowners insurance. For this reason, that should be something that you're discussing with them at the listing. And then again, before you're doing the open house, letting them know that although we try to make every effort to stop that, and you should be just kind of keeping an eye on people, trying to direct them to wait into the entryway until you're done with the client ahead of them. I can tell you from my own experience, it's really hard to stop people from just making themselves at home. So make sure you're having these conversations with your sellers while you're prepping that open house and setting that appointment to set up clear expectations. And then letting them know, you know, do you have homeowners insurance? I always tell my clients, like, I hate to be negative Nelly. I hate to be, you know, the Chicken Little that says the sky is falling. But my job is to give you not only the best case scenario, but the worst case scenario of what could happen so that we are prepared and we're making sure that we're not liable. So making sure that they have homeowners insurance and that it is valid. And then just taking those precautions and having those conversations with them, like, hey, put up your jewelry, put up your prescription medication. I always told my clients, have a to-go box for your showings. It's just a Tupperware box that you buy at Walmart in the storage section. And when you have a showing or when we have an open house, I want you to dump all of your valuables, all of your medication, and anything that has great sentimental value to you. I want you to put it in this box. And as you walk out the door, put it in the trunk of your car. And then when you come home, you can bring that box in, you grab out whatever you need. And then when we have another one, put it in the box and put it in your trunk. If it's something you can't carry with you, get a to-go box, one of those under the bed boxes, and put it in that box and slide it under your bed. I can tell you that clients that come in for open houses or buyers and otherwise open the cabinets, they open the refrigerator, they go into the closets, they poke around. And some people are really, really good at stealing. They literally do it for a living. So one thing that I've never had anybody do is get on the floor and look under a bed. They do not get underneath the bed. There's no reason for them to get underneath the bed. So put it in a bin, slide it under the bed. Because if somebody is pulling stuff out from underneath the bed, I'm going to notice real quick. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Now we're going to talk about bringing in the neighbors. This is one of the most frequently untapped lead sources when it comes to open houses. So make sure that you are arriving early. If your open house starts at 1 o'clock, what time should you be there? Yes, Amanda.
12:30.
No, should not be there at 12:30. Should not also be there at 1:05. You should be there at a minimum an hour to an hour and a half before your event. And we're going to go over why. You need to be there. If your open house starts at 1, you should be there at 11:30. And here's the reason. At 11:30, you're going to go in, you're going to check your directional signs, make sure they haven't blown over, make sure that nobody stole them, right? You're going to check your open house sign in your yard, make sure it's still visible. It's not filled with mud. They haven't cut the grass and thrown grass all over it. You're going to wipe it down if you need to. You're going to go ahead and pop those balloons in the yard, get that all set. You're going to put your flags up. And then you're going to go in the house and you're going to do a what? What are you going to do in the house?
A walkthrough.
You do a walkthrough. You're going to have your cleaning supplies with you, just in case something happened, just in case there was a showing the day before and there's mud on the floor, or maybe a kid took a dookie in the toilet and now you have to like sort that out. Maybe somebody left, the seller was in there cleaning, they left the window open. Now there's water all over the windowsill and all over the floor. Life happens. So we're going to do a once through the house. You're going to prepare the house. You're going to turn all the lights on. If it's summer and they don't have AC, you're going to pop those windows open. If it's a nice day, let all of that beautiful breeze in there. You're going to get your counter set up with all of your supplies. so that it looks all nice. You're going to put your collateral out. You're going to have your business cards. It's going to be great. Okay. So we arrived at 11:30. We got all that set up. Now it's 12 o'clock and the event doesn't start till 1. What do we do now?
Talk to the neighbor.
We got to talk to the neighbors. Yes.
Right?
Yes. I love this part. And don't be afraid of this part. This is the best part. I started to the right and I'd start knocking on doors. What I'd have with me is I would have the one sheet, the open house one sheet that I would hand the guest. I'd have extras of those. I'd have a business card and I'd have a giveaway. Sometimes it was a pen. Sometimes it was a calendar. It could be literally anything. It could be like a little bag of candy, whatever it is, have a giveaway with you and knock on the doors. People will answer. They'll answer the door and be like, oh, hey, can I help you? Hi, I'm your neighborhood realtor. I just want to let you know we're having an open house next door. I don't know if you know this, but the Smiths are moving, or I'm sure you know that the Smiths moved out a couple months ago. We're doing an open house today. And I know you live next door and you're probably not looking to move a house over, but I just want to let you know that I'm here and you may see me come and go from time to time. And if you know anybody who you would love to be neighbors with, please invite them to come over. I'm going to be there from 1 to 3 today. And they'll say, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. Oh, and I brought you a little gift. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Again, you're welcome to come over, take a look. I'd actually really value your feedback and invite them over. Okay. If somebody's not home, make sure you have little plastic bags with you. They are literally like a penny a piece on Amazon. You can buy a box of 100 for like a couple bucks. And they're, I used to use, I'm sure they make them for this now, but they didn't back in the day. I used to use those, do you ever see those those cheap umbrella bags that they have at like the mall and stuff like that? And I used to use those and I would stick the stuff in the umbrella bag and I would stick it to their doorknob if they weren't home. What's great about introducing yourself to the neighbors is that if the neighbor decides to put their house on the market, who are they going to likely call? They're going to call you. If the neighbor knows somebody who's interested in buying a house, they're going to say, oh, well, you know what? I just had this realtor stop by my house the other day because the Smiths just put their home on the market and she was just so sweet. She dropped off information and her card. I think I have her card in the kitchen somewhere. And she dropped me off this real nice, like, little box of candy. And I just thought that was so nice. Nobody does that anymore. Okay. You're also going to keep a list of the neighbors that you went to as well. So keep your little notebook and make sure that you're keeping a list of the neighbors that you went to, whether they answer the door or not. And then you're going to go onto searchpeoplefree.com. You're going to look up the address and you're going to send them a thank you card. So you can send a thank you card to them, handwritten thank you card that says, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to chat with me a little bit. It was super nice to meet you. Please keep me in mind if you need anything in the future. Or if they didn't answer the door, you can say, I'm so sorry that I missed you the other day. I stopped by unannounced. Just wanted to let you know that the Smiths had put their home on the market. If you need anything in the future, I would be happy to help any way I can. Please reach out anytime. And you send that thank you card in the mail. So this gets you now 3 touches with those neighbors. 1, the first touch is all your advertising and your collateral that's in front of the property. The second touch is you stop by their house. The third touch is you sent them a thank you card. Now you can start touching them from there on. If you did just listed postcard, that's a 4th touch to the neighbors. We haven't made it to 7 yet. But if you do an open house, you send those postcards out ahead of time. That's touch number 5. If it just sold, it's touch number 6. And then finally, that 7th touch which is a great way to seal the deal with these neighbors, is to reach out to them or send them a letter that says, this is your neighborhood realtor. I just wanted to let you know that the Smiths have finally sold their home. We're so excited for them. You will be having new neighbors join you in your community, the Clarks. Please reach out to them and invite them to the neighborhood. They are so excited to meet you all and they cannot wait to be part of your community. Thank you for all you do to make this community great. And again, if you ever need anything, please reach out to me. And you're following them again. So that is how you cement yourself with the neighbor and become that neighbor expert. I have a lot of agents ask me about geo farming and about farming certain neighborhoods. How do I I want to sell in this neighborhood. How do I get into that neighborhood? This is how. This is how. It's about forming those real connections with not just the seller, but everybody the seller knows around them. And chances are pretty good the house that you live in now, you know the majority of your neighbors. Whether you know them personally, whether you know their first and last name, what their cat's name is irrelevant. But I can tell you when I walk out my front door and my neighbor is walking across the street, I give them a wave. I know who they are. You know, we may not go out and do picnics on the weekend, but I know who they are. They know who I am. So that is how you become a neighborhood expert. All right, let's talk about building up to the main event. So we have arrived an hour and a half early. We've done our half an hour setup. We've done our walkthrough through the property. We took another half an hour, 45 minutes to go and meet and greet all the neighbors. And we've started building our connections there. So now, what do? We got 15, 20 minutes left. What do we do now? And how I use this time is to do a live video tour. Jump on social media. Open up Facebook Live. And don't worry about what you look like or what you sound like. It should be candid. So what I traditionally do is I open it up facing myself, saying, hi, this is Christina Hoffmeyer from Realty One Group Ultimate, just jumping on here because I am so excited about the open house that we're having today. And I talk a little bit. Before I start the tour, I talk a little bit because it does take some time for those viewers to jump on the video. So waste a little bit of time, not a ton of time, but 2 or 3 minutes, waste some time just by chit-chatting. And that's the point where I'll be like, oh, I just can't wait to show you this house. It's beautiful. It's amazing. We have it on the market for X amount of dollars. I'm going to be showing you around here in a few minutes, just waiting for a few stragglers to come on, blah, 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 blah. And then you want to turn that camera around and you want to start walking through the house. I usually start on the outside, like this is the front of the house. This is the street. This is the other side of the street. It's got a really amazing parking. They just blacktopped the parking here. It has this amazing front sunroom. I would just love this. This is where I'd be drinking my coffee in the morning. And then we go in through the entryway, and I just love this built-in bench that they have. I tell you what, this is where we would put our shoes because I have a bad habit of just kicking my shoes off and then somebody trips over them, so on and so forth. And you just chit-chat like you would around the house. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a videographer to do the Facebook Live open houses. It should be a reflection of who you are and how you normally talk. And don't worry if you're saying or well or have a pause, because those things will, the more confident you get, the less of those that are going to go on. But you have to go through the motions and you have to practice at it. So nobody, I promise you, nobody's going to go on to the comments and be like, oh my gosh, Belle, if you say one more time, or this was the worst tour ever, nobody's going to say that. Everybody is going to say, oh, it looks beautiful. I love that kitchen. I wish I could stop by, but I'm busy. What's the address? How long are you there till? Those are the kind of comments that you're going to get. One thing I suggest you do is if you know you're doing a Facebook Live and you know what time it is, invite your mom, dad, sisters, brothers, cousins to get on the Facebook Live ahead of time. The way that the algorithm works is the more viewers you have on your Facebook Live, the more people are invited to your Facebook Live. The more people will see it. So if you have family members, ask them to help you out and do you a solid and be like, hey, can you jump on Facebook at 3 o'clock or at 12:30 or whatever time, the half an hour before your open house is? I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live tour. I just want to make sure somebody's on there. And can you give me some constructive feedback on how it sounds? And I always tell everybody, like, I think I sound dumb when I'm doing it. So can you watch it and like maybe tell me that I'm not sounding dumb when I do this? You know, moms eat that stuff up. Dads eat that stuff up. There's no way they're going to tell you no. They're going to be like, oh my goodness, my little princess, she's a celebrity. Like that's how moms are. So ask your family, whoever your family is, to help you out. All right. One thing I often love to do is offer an early arrival incentive. Okay. Get on a Facebook Live and say, hey, if you show up in the first 30 minutes, if you're the first 5 people through the door within the first 30 minutes of the open house, you're going to get a free t-shirt. You're going to get a free mug. You're going to get a gift certificate to Starbucks. So have some giveaways, and they don't have to be expensive. Have some cheap giveaways. And just make it so that the first, however many people, first 3 people, whatever it is, show up in the first half an hour that sign in. They must sign in. Cost them nothing, but they must sign in. We have some type of incentive. And then invite the people on the Facebook Live to come and visit you in person. Say, hey, I know that you're seeing it here, but it's nothing compared to what it looks in person. Please come in, even if you can't make it for the early bird incentive, please stop by and see me. I would love to see all of you guys. Come check out what I do. Give me some feedback about the house. The seller would love to know what your thoughts are in this place. Questions up to this point?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a fine line, the early bird prize?
A fine line.
Yeah,
Explain.
so are we allowed to be giving gifts? Is there any line of bribery or
You cannot give, there is rules around requiring somebody to pay for something to receive a gift in real estate.
so it's free?
You can give giveaways. Yes, you can give giveaways as long as you are not like the first 3 people to buy a house.
Right.
The first 3 people to sign a BAC get something. You can't do that. But the first 3 people to arrive are going to pick a prize. It's just, it has no value. It requires no purchase.
Yeah.
And whether they're represented by you, another agent, or not represented at all, they all have to qualify for that giveaway. So you can't isolate one. Yes, you can't isolate. And it cannot be cash. You cannot give cash.
No money.
No money. No money. And keep it cheap. So keep it cheap. There are rules with like how much, like the monetary amount, but I think it's pretty high. I think it's like $300 or something. I don't know that for certain. Don't quote me. That's something I would have to look up. But yeah, it is questionable. So just make sure that everybody can qualify. All they have to do is show up. They don't have to buy. They don't even have to be a buyer. Just show up and say hi.
Just wanna hang out with
Tell
you.
me my outfit's awesome and you qualify to win a prize. All right. So next we're talking about how we're engaging with the clients when they come in. So this goes without saying, and most of you guys are going to know this, but we have to put it in just in case, is you want to greet them warmly. Reach out your hand, introduce yourself and thank them for coming to the open house. You want to try to engage them in conversation, asking open-ended questions, asking them questions about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. So say, hey, thank you so much for coming. I'm just going to have you sign in real quick. But while you're doing that, have you been looking in this neighborhood for a long time? Or are you just starting to think about buying? Or what's important to you in a house that you find? What's most important? Whatever those questions are, you're going to find your own lingo. You're going to find your own way of doing things. But a good way to get people to engage is to ask them questions about themselves. Conduct guided tours. You heard me mention earlier, the worst thing you can do is say, hey, I'm Christina. Thanks for coming. Go ahead, look around. Give me a holler if you need anything. They're just going to be like, wow, this host is so rude. Like, she just doesn't think, like, I just don't think that she has any time for me. Like, she seems, like this is a bother. No, shake their hand, have them log in, ask them questions about themselves, and then guide them through the home as if you were guiding a guest through your own home. And that's how you want to, this is how you want to deal with the consumers coming in. Pretend that this person is a person who is visiting your personal home for the very first time. I would never invite somebody I barely know just to come in my house and be like, yeah, do whatever you want. Yeah, you want to go upstairs and take a shower? It's cool. Like, you don't do that. It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be doing it to the seller's house either. So you want to guide them through like you're showing any house. Like, oh, well, here's the entryway. This building, this bench here is actually built in. It comes with the home. The seller's custom designed this for organization. I think it's one of the coolest features of the house. It was, the wood was taken from an old church and it was repurposed. So this is one of the unique features of this house. Now, if you follow me to the living room, one thing I love about the living room is the trade ceiling and the recessed lighting. So you can really control whether you want it light and bright if you have guests over, if you want it dim and you're maybe watching a television show, if you're having family movie night, and then, so on and so forth through the house. You want to start picking out some of those things that are really unique to that property and then asking them open-ended questions about how they feel about it. Are you looking for something with a big kitchen? Are you looking for something that's all one level? Or how do you feel about, this has a 2-car detached garage. How do you feel about a detached garage? Is that okay? Are you looking for more of an attached garage? Understand that this is the point in which you get to know the client. And you are inadvertently getting all of this information so that you can kind of big brother them on the back end because you've already collected their data. You're listening to what they say. You have your clipboard in hand, you're taking notes. And then when you leave there, we're going to talk about later on, we're going to talk about how to convert that lead into a client by because you've gathered all of that information. Now you're able to properly follow up, which leads us to our next one here, follow up effectively. Collect contact information and follow up with attendees properly, providing additional details, offering to assist them with their home search. If you do everything right to this point and you get to step 4 and you don't follow up, you fail. And I promise you, this is where I personally had the hardest time because I had no problems prepping. That stuff was exciting to me. I loved getting the balloons and setting them up and talking to the neighbors and figuring out what cookies I was going to bring and making the signs for the inside. That, I had that. That thrilled me. But after I left that open house and Monday rolled around, I was like, I don't want to call these people. They probably think I'm weird. By that time, the hype, the adrenaline had worn off. And I'm like, I'm not calling them. If they're interested, they'll call me. I gave them my card. I lost so many opportunities because I did not follow up effectively. And what I think finally kicked me in my ass to realize this is when I got an offer a following Monday from a lead who walked in, I showed the property to, we had an amazing conversation. We connected really well. They told me they didn't have an agent and they wrote an offer with somebody else. And that agent never showed the property. And there was not a dang thing I could do about it because I didn't follow up. They showed up to see my house and to meet me, and they wanted the house, but I failed to follow up. And I lost half of the deal because I failed. I got lazy and I failed to follow up. So make sure that you are following up because you have put all of your time, money, and effort into this point. You've done that whole thing up to this point. Your revenue is in the follow-up. Any questions thus far?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
As far as the sign-in, what do you use? A tablet or a book that you have them sign in and put their contact information?
We're going to go over that next.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm taking all my notes.
Hey, Anthony. Anthony, can you keep your voice down, please?
Okay, so I'm guiding them through. I'm taking my notes. I'm asking my open-ended to see what's important to them. 2 more people come through the door.
Uh-huh.
What do I do?
So what I
Yes.
used to do is I would tell the people that I'm with, excuse me 1 second, I'll be right back. I would go to those people and say, I'm just showing somebody else around. why don't you go ahead, and I would lead them into the kitchen. Go ahead, and if you could sign in for me, please, and grab some refreshments. I'll be back in 2 minutes, and I'll
Yeah.
take you through the rest of the house.
'Cause I don't
Here-
want them to see it while I'm busy and not sign in and leave.
Yeah. So I would guide them back to your staging area, whether that's in the entryway. And a lot of times that I would try to set it up in the entryway if the entryway is big enough, or whether that's in the kitchen, you can guide them back to
Mhm.
that area and say, here are some refreshments. Please go ahead and sign in. There's some information there on the counter. I'll be right back with you and I can guide you through the tour. Thanks so much.
Okay.
You know, and then you can go ahead and say, I'm so sorry for the interruption. This happens sometimes at open houses. Let's go ahead and finish our tour. And then you would guide those people that you're with back down to that kitchen area.
Yeah.
So that they can have refreshments and you're still there. Say, you know, take a minute to think about everything here. Why don't you grab something to eat and drink? Here's some additional information for you. I'm going to go ahead and take them around, but I'll be right back to answer any final questions that you have.
Okay.
And we can make a follow-up appointment if you'd like to come back and see it privately, or if you have any questions about anything else in the market.
I'll see it privately.
Yep. So I am really big at booking the next appointment before you leave a client. You guys have heard me say this 1,000 times. The best way to convert a client is to book your next appointment before their feet hit the sidewalk. Do not let them leave until you have that next appointment. And that's what I would do at the open houses too. Be like, oh, you guys really seem to like it. I know that open houses are always chaos. I do have some availability tomorrow if you guys want to come back in privately and spend a little extra time. Are you guys free at 1 o'clock? And they'll say, yeah, I'm free. Or, well, actually, we were going to look at this house down the street. Well, great. I can take you over there 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then if you guys still are torn between the two of them, we could always pop back over to this one as well and see that one after so you can compare the two. So make that appointment before they leave if at all possible. If they don't already have an agent. Full disclosure, if they already have an agent, can't do anything about it. But make sure you're getting their agent's information so you can follow up with their agent the next day. Ask the agent for feedback. We'll let the agent know that they were there. It's courteous. So let the agent know, hey, your clients were at my open house. Just wanted to let you know they seem like a lovely couple. They really seem to like it. My seller's looking for some feedback. So could you be so kind to just give them a call and see if you can get some feedback for me? But I want to let you know that they were there. And here's the MLS number for it, you know, and maybe email them over the one sheet for the house. It's a great way to network with other agents. And you calling the agent saying your client was at my open house is a really, really great way to build trust.
Mhm.
Really great way to build trust with another agent. All right. Collecting valuable lead information at the open house. Having them sign in and capture their lead information, it is 100% crucial for your follow-up efforts. Remember that the open house is less about selling the property on the day of the open house and more about generating you leads that don't cost you money. If you guys have ever purchased leads from Lead Source, and you guys may not have, but I can tell you, just believe me when I tell you, leads are super expensive. The average cost to buy a lead, a cold lead that is not a client who may or may not buy, that converts at a 5% rate, is around $140 a contact. That's what leads cost. Every time that Zillow line rings, it costs the brokerage about $140 every time the phone rings. So leads are super, super, super expensive. Open houses are one of the cheapest ways that you can get leads if you're doing them properly. So remember, everything that you're doing comes up to the point of collecting the information and following up with that lead. There's lots of different ways that you can collect the information at the open house. Now, when I started doing open houses way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, we didn't have fancy tablets and stuff like that. There were no apps. There were no open house apps. We didn't have, we didn't have CRMs. We didn't have any of that stuff. We were lucky that we had information on the internet, on the MLS. We did, but it wasn't mainstream yet. It was just kind of taking off. I mean, we're talking about, 17 years ago, where only the younger agents like myself were putting stuff on the MLS because some of our senior agents were like, I don't know how to use the internet and I'm too old to learn now. So that was kind of the consensus, but now it's so mainstream, everybody puts everything on the internet. So there are lots of different ways that you can collect this information. How you're going to collect it just depends on how you are with the follow-up. I don't care how you collect the information, just as long as you're collecting it in a way where you will follow up and follow through
with the visitors to your open house, because these are people who are coming in saying, I want to buy a house, and I want to buy a house so bad that I'm going to walk into an empty house with a stranger I don't know and ask to have a tour. Just people just don't walk in off the street unless they're a nosy neighbor, which you're inviting the nosy neighbors to come over. But people don't, who aren't looking for houses do not go to open houses. Only people who want to buy houses, and sometimes the neighbors, will come to open houses. So these are your leads. By the time that they pulled up to that property, they've already told you, I am a potential buyer. I want to buy a house. And I likely don't have an agent. So encourage them to sign in. Sometimes people don't like to sign in, but I've always used the excuse that my agreement with my seller says that I have to have everybody sign in for liability reasons in case something would, get stolen, in case somebody would get hurt. If you had a medical emergency, I would need to know who you are in the event something would happen. So if you can go ahead and sign in for me. Also let them know that you're not going to, if they are concerned, let them know, hey, I'm not going to sell your personal information. This is just a book who's been in and out of the house. And and if they were kind of hesitant about it, I'd be like, listen, like it's just my job. I mean, I got 2 kids. You don't want me to lose my job, do you? Like, I'm not that attractive to be able to be a beggar. I can't do it. So that's what I would tell people. And you will get some people that hesitate for that. And then maybe at that point you say, okay, well, we can sign in after. Let me show you around the house. You start asking them those questions, and then they get more comfortable with you. So all right. So you always have a staging area at an open house. Sometimes that's in the entryway. It would be ideal if it was in the entryway, because that way people come in the door and it almost makes them stop at the entryway. A lot of times it's not ideal because the entryway isn't big enough. And then you go ahead and you do it at the kitchen. So at the entryway, you want to make sure that you have your sign-in sheet or your tablet, however you're going to do it. We're going to show you how the tools that Realty One gives you to do it on the next slide. You want to have some information about the property printed, not just on the internet. You want to make sure that you have printed material. So I know it's the old school way of doing it, but printed material. We have a massive commercial printer here at the office that just does, print shop quality printing. So you can do them right here, and you can design those on One Design. They're all designed for you. So it's really, really easy to make those one sheets. Make sure that you have business cards with you. That's super important. And a lot of them. Don't take 2, take a stack. Take a stack of business cards. Make sure you have those business cards with you. And then your refreshments and anything else. You always want to offer them refreshments. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but I always thought that pastries or cookies and stuff. Cookies is usually what a lot of agents bring. So people tend to get bored with that. So after a while, I would just go and I would go to Giant Eagle. Always had those croissants and turnovers and stuff. It's like a big platter of them. It's like $25. I don't know how much it costs now, but I would just get one of those. And it was great because it came in the serving dish, just popped off the top. The serving dish was there. It was perfect. So something like that. You could have a fruit and cheese plate. You can have whatever you want to have. I mean, make it your own, whatever you want to have. And I always had giveaways. So for every person that walked in, got a free pen or a free pop socket or whatever that has, the brokerage information and your name on it. So I would get those custom made in bulk. I did pens a lot because I used to give out pens like they were candy to waitresses. I love giving pens to waitresses. But I always had something there for them to take with them. And the point is that you want the information to go home with them, even if it is just a one sheet. So they go in their car. The first thing they do is they throw it on their seat and they go about their day. The next day when they get in their car, whose face is on their seat? Whose face is there? Yours. Remember, it takes 7 times for somebody to remember who you are. So it begins that touching process where they have to look at it and be like, oh, I forgot this was in here. Maybe they throw it in the garbage. Maybe they throw it in the back seat. Who knows? But the point is they took it with them. So next, we're going to look at a video about how you can use the tools that Realty One gives you in your One login for your open house efforts. So if you guys online have trouble hearing this, please let me know, because sometimes these embedded videos don't work real well. So just please let me know if you can't hear it or see it. Okay, play. There it is.
Okay, so we are at the open house form. And in the pop-up, you just need to put in your address. Click on the open form, and then the open house registration form pops up. So you can do this in advance if you'd like to, and all you need to do is save this URL here, send it to yourself. So a couple things you can do with this URL is you can save it. So if you want to not have your laptop open at your open house, but maybe you have an iPad or something, you just need to copy this URL to your iPad, and then this page will open up. You can send this page to your clients to kind of advertise that you are having an open house and they can register beforehand. We've added these QR codes. So if your client scans this QR code, they will get this same page. Or if they scan this QR code, it will give them property details of the home. And because this form is registered to you, you'll see that in your URL name here. All the contact information will appear in your OneSuite app under your contact. So you can make this form in advance, or you can do it at the open house itself. When your contact registers, they will get an email. You will receive an email. But you can also find your contact information by clicking under the contact's first name, and under website activities, you will see that they registered. And so it can give you some more information to follow up with them.
All right. So for those of you who do not have access to OneLogin yet, you will once your license has gone through the PAL system. If you do have access to the OneLogin, you go into OneLogin, and then you're going to click, if you're already using OneSuite, it'll show up on your frequently used tiles. If not, you want to go to the second tab that says Your Apps, pull down on the bar that says Everything, and then the OneSuite will be under the Everything tab. Open the OneSuite, and then it'll have all those enter tabs of all the things that you can do to collect lead sources that funnel into your CRM. It is also the same place where you design and alter your agent website. So if you've been in there playing with your agent website, it is the same app. It's okay, Cheyenne. We'll get there.
We'll get there later.
Don't let it overwhelm you. If we need to have a OneSuite training, which I think that we should, we'll go ahead and have that. There are so many functions in OneSuite. And what I love is that with this brokerage, everything is integrated into OneSuite. So if you're doing an open house and you have them register online through the OneSuite Open House app, it goes directly into your contacts and leads, into your CRM. Now, if you do not have internet at the house, and if you do not have a tablet that has internet access, what you can do is print that QR code ahead of time for registration, and you can have that sitting out if you were in a house that has no internet. So if you are in an occupied house, chances are they're going to have internet. Make sure you get that sign-on detail for their Wi-Fi before the open house. But if you don't, you can print your QR code anytime and have that available. Now, all of you that are on this training or in the office here will be getting an open house packet next week as a thank you for joining this training. So you will see Tori to get that. She'll have that next week for you. I ordered a few things. They did not come in time for today, but we should have those next week. So you'll get a little bag of goodies. One of those items is a plaque. I used to use like a plastic one, but I found these really cute house ones that we got personalized. It's a little plaque. It's shaped like a house. You can print out your QR code and you can tape it or paste it to this plaque and use chalk to put, please sign in, scan me, or whatever you're going to do to have people sign in from their smartphones. I'd also suggest a paper form, because if you do get some people that don't have smartphones, like my dad, God love him, but he can't work a smartphone to save his life. He's just not real tech savvy. So always have that paper form, sitting there just so people like that can sign in and you're not making it overcomplicated for them. So, and that gives you a good gauge when you follow up with them as well. Should I, are they better with email? Are they better with text? Are they better with a phone call? So if somebody's using the paper form, pick up the phone and call them because, not everybody loves technology. All right. Any questions up to this point before we get into the follow-up process? We're almost coming full circle. Nope. Everybody quiet today. Okay. So follow up with open house leads. Again, I've said this, I think this is the third time. This is your most important step. This is your most important step. Think about your follow-up as going grocery shopping. Okay. To go grocery shopping, you have to get out of your PJs. You have to make yourself at least somewhat presentable. I mean, I don't get all dolled up for grocery shopping, but that's neither here nor there. Let's pretend you're going grocery shopping at Target because you have to look at least decent to go to Target. So we're going to go to Target. We're going to get ourselves all dolled up. We have to get in the car. We have to drive there. We have to go through the process of like, okay, we have our shopping list. We got to get this. We got to get this. We got to get this. We check out. We leave Target. We drive the whole way home. We unload our groceries in the kitchen. And then what if you never put them away? We spent $300 on Target for 2 weeks worth of food and we left them on the counter and we never put them away. That's insane, right? Nobody would do that. Nobody would do that. So why are we putting in all the effort into an open house, coming home, and then never following up with our clients? It's wasted money. It's like leaving dairy products on a counter. So we need to follow up. This is where we turn all those efforts into dollars, is the follow-up. So you want to do a prompt follow-up. Reach out to open house attendees within 24 to 48 hours to maintain momentum and show your responsiveness. Now, here's something. They say 24 to 48 hours. I'm not going to argue with this, but what I can tell you is that good practice is you're in your open house. You just showed it to 3 clients, and now you have a span. You have a window where you're sitting, you're waiting for the next group of people to show up, right? Best course of action is to shoot them a text message after they've left and say, hey, this is Charlie. Thank you again for attending my open house. Please feel free to text or call me on this number if you have any other questions later on in the evening. I'd be happy to answer those for you. Really one group, blah, blah, blah. Just a quick text. They don't have to respond. This is just your point where you're like, okay, we did the tour. You signed in. I gave you my card, but now my contact information is in your phone. Just that quick thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking the time. It was so lovely to meet you and your children, or it was so nice to meet you and hear about your dog Stan, or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever's important to them. Just thank you for attending. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I'm always here to help. All right, number 2, personalized outreach. Craft personalized messages that demonstrate your understanding of each lead's unique needs and interests. Okay, so we sent our text message and, told him that we were so, it was so nice to hear about him and his dog Stan. And we know he has a dog Stan because we asked those open-ended questions. He didn't tell us that he had any basic needs for Stan, but because we engaged in conversation with him, we know that Stan is an elderly German Shepherd. He's an elderly German Shepherd. And by knowing this and having a dog ourselves, or having a pet in general ourselves, or rabid children, if that's what you have, just depending, we know that this German Shepherd is going to need a backyard, and maybe a fenced backyard, right? It'd be nice. The dog's getting older. He wanders. But he's a big dog, so he's going to need some place to do his business and get some exercise in his older years. So we're going to personally outreach to them and say, hey, thank you so much for joining the open house. It was so nice to get to meet you. Just wanted to call and follow up real quick in regards to the property. Did you have any questions? No, you didn't. Okay, great. Well, you know what? I was thinking about you last night, and I happened to notice that 3 blocks away, there is a house very similar to this one, but it has a fenced-in backyard, and I think it'd be perfect for Stan. I think it'd be perfect. Would you want to check it out with me? So bring that personalization back into it and give them something that interests them. And make it unique to them. Hi, guys. Hi, come on in. Good. We're just finishing up our training, so sit down. Sit down. Make yourself at home. All right. Next, you want to nurture the relationships. So regularly check in, provide some relevant updates to them, and start building that rapport to keep them engaged. Okay, so we're talking about the gentleman that has the German Shepherd Stan. If he didn't get an appointment with you right away and you weren't able to start booking those appointments, make sure you ask him before you get off the phone. Like, oh, it's okay that you don't want to see anything right now, but is it okay if I follow up with you from time to time? Just check in, see how you and Stan are doing. And then you give him a call maybe next week and be like, hey, I was just checking in. How are things going? I saw that another house popped on the market that might be of interest to you. I know you said that Stan is getting older. This is all one level. So this might be easier on his hips because I know you said he was having some problems in his old age. So I thought of you. So just checking in and making sure that you're continuously building that rapport. And this is probably the easiest, if you're setting up your systems properly, this could do the most work for you, is to leverage your CRM tools. So part of the One Suite is not only your agent website and your open house forms, but when you go into that leads and contacts, you have the ability to set reminders in your CRM. You can do drip campaigns on there. Every time you list a house, you can do a listing email that goes out to all of your contacts. This is a great way to really touch them in between those conversations to keep you at top of mind. And I'm going to say it one more time. I won't say it again in this training here, but for the people online, shout it out. If you know the answer, just shout it out. How many touches does it take before somebody will remember your name?
7.
7. Good job. Awesome. So make sure that you're touching out to them. Make sure they remember who you are. They will not remember that you exist until you've reached out to them at least 7 times. All right. And we would be nowhere if we did not talk about realtor safety at open houses. So you do want to make sure that you're just checking out to make sure that you are safe and aware of your surroundings at all times. So maintain your visitor logs, keep a log of all visitors entering and leaving the property for security and accountability. This is not just for your safety, but for the safety of the seller and their possessions, as well as their own liability. Again, people trip, they fall, they sue. We are in a very sue happy world. Always assume that the worst is going to happen. Please make sure that they sign in, not just for reasons of leads, but for liability. Secure any valuables, remove or lock away any valuable items to prevent them from theft during open houses. Remember, we talked about having that pre-appointment with the seller about putting up things like rings, any type of jewelry, prescription medications. Prescription medications are the #1 most frequently stolen item in real estate transactions. Prescription medications, put them away. Put away anything that is easily breakable. Vases, knickknacks, and anything that has emotional value, put it away. I don't care if it is a finger painting on a wall. If the seller has an emotional attachment to something, it should not be in the house. Please make sure that you're doing your best before the open house just to do a pass by once around and put a second set of eyes on the house. Even if the sellers are gone, that's when you're going to pick up the phone. You're going to talk to the seller and say, hey, I noticed that you guys did not put this up. And I'm afraid it's going to get broken. So just so that you know, I have taken that and I've put that on the top shelf of the closet for you. I don't want you to think somebody stole it. I put it away because we may have children in the house or somebody may bump it with their elbow or something like that. All right. When you feel unsafe, utilize the buddy system. There's nothing wrong with that. Utilize the buddy system, have another agent do it with you, have an assistant do it with you. If you are at an open house and the hair on the back of your neck stands up, call your wife, call your husband, call a friend and ask if they'll come over and sit with you. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, we would suggest that they're not sitting there as an agent, but if you have your husband or your wife there with you and somebody comes in the door, they can make themselves scarce and just pretend that they're a buyer at that point. So just tell them, you know, when somebody comes in, just pretend you're a buyer and kind of go and look around the house. Yes.
I had one thing. Amanda have had that situation. I was here at the office. She called my cell phone. I sat on the phone with her the whole time. So if you don't have someone to come with you, you can call me and I'll sit on the phone with you.
Great. No, that's a great tip. Yeah. Call the office so we don't feel safe, or this is kind of a hairy situation, or I have somebody in here who's just giving me the heebie-jeebies. You know, can you stay on the phone with me? And you can, you can keep that phone on, put it in your pocket, and we'll stay on the line. So arrange emergency contacts. Make sure you have emergency contact numbers ready and available. We require here at Realty One, you have an emergency contact in your file and that you update it every year. Make sure that person would be the person that would come running to your aid if something would happen. So make sure you have an emergency contact. And then make sure, just something that isn't on here is you should be telling other people that you have the open house. Let another agent know, have check-in points. You can also utilize your Showing Time app for your beacon. So if something happens, you can click that button and that's going to tell your team here that you want people to know where you are and that your GPS location is logged in. All right. Last thing you want to do is you want to measure your success. Measure your success. So I have on here 20 total attendees, 5 qualified leads, estimated home value 200,000. You want to, how you measure your success is completely up to you. But I always like to know what the conversion ratio is for anything so that I know how I am appropriately spending my time, because time is money. If I had to work a 9-to-5 job, getting paid an hourly wage, I want to know what is my worth and how much is it costing me. So measure the success of your open house over a period of time. Maybe you do this quarterly and say, okay, out of all the open houses that I did, I spent this many hours, I had this many attendees, I sold this many houses, and then gauge your success. This is how you just determine after the fact what changes you need to make to your processes, where you really need to buckle down, and where your money's coming from. So where's your money coming from? This is really going to tell you. So make sure you're treating your open houses like a business. And that's where a lot of agents fail, is they do not treat them being agents as a business. You guys are all business owners. So you need to know the nuts and bolts of where you're spending it, how you're spending your time, and how much that is making you. What is your return on your investment? And even if it is just your time is valuable. What's your return on investment, and how can you improve on those processes to make more money by utilizing the same amount of time? So if you're doing open houses properly, they are a great way to generate revenue, to get your name out there, and for you to become the famous neighborhood agent where your face is everywhere. I know that you can pinpoint any agent in your brain whose face is literally everywhere. We want all of you guys to be the next it agent. And I can tell you that no successful agent has ever started their career by saying, I don't do open houses. Not a one. Not a one. All right. Let's open it up for questions here. Let me get off of here and get back on the screen so I can see you guys, because right now I can't see you. Okay.
I have a random question real quick.
I have a random answer for you.
Are you able to, obviously without it being like out in the open, but are we allowed to carry like pepper spray or anything with us?
You are. You are.
Okay.
You are responsible for yourself if you are carrying any type of weapon with you. You are required to be properly licensed if you're carrying a firearm. And just so that everybody knows, our insurance does not cover you in the event that you shoot yourself, spray yourself, any of that. So I would just suggest that you are properly trained on anything that you have. But yes, it is very common to have pepper spray or other type of, safety mechanisms when showing houses. I would strongly suggest that everybody has something. Everybody has something. And some people will have, siren whistles, pepper spray, tasers, and some agents in our area carry firearms, and I did as well. Just make sure that you have the proper licensing for it. And if you're going to carry a firearm, make sure you know how to use it, because you are more likely to shoot yourself than somebody else if you don't know what you're doing. Who else got something? Oh, Allison, I didn't even see you were here. Hi, honey. All right. Any other questions on this? Any other, do you have any tips or anything to add? Something that you guys do or something that you want to do when you're doing your open houses?
I do have a question about that last slide.
Yeah.
Are there any key metrics that we should be looking at? And exactly how would they be measured? I know it's probably something that we can go into later. I was just thinking about it as I was writing everything down.
Well, I mean, there's no kind of key metrics. There's nothing that says like this should be your target, because with open houses, they're so subjective to how they're done. Like I said, we were talking about how most open houses, basically, they show up 5 minutes before, sometimes 5 minutes late, and put an open house sign in the ground and then expect people to show up. So it's really going to be a measure of what you're doing. I would say that I would keep track of your hours, how many hours spent on the property, how many people are coming in, and then how many people actually ended up signing a BAC with you or a listing agreement. That's going to tell you what your conversion rate is. So keep in mind that the conversion rate for buying leads online, the conversion rate of that is around 5% if you're really good at converting leads. So if you get 100 leads, if you pay 100 leads, you're only really going to end up with maybe five clients out of those. I mean, that's how low it is. And that is if you are still a stellar converter. But I would kind of look at it based on, if I'm doing open houses and I'm converting 20% of my leads, then I should be putting more money into open houses. I should be getting better signage. I should be doing more marketing. I should be doing this, that, or the other. I should be spending more time. Maybe instead of doing one open house a month, maybe I'm doing one every weekend or two every weekend. So it just depends on how good you get at it to see if there's a better return in buying cold leads or a better return in those face-to-face interactions at open houses.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else here? Yeah, Cheyenne.
Are they called Twilights? Are they not called Twilight?
Twilight open houses, yeah,
Oh,
people
like
use that, yeah.
Night ones.
Yep.
When do those start? Is that like a season?
Usually that's in the summer. Yeah, you can do
June?
Twilight. You can do Twilight open houses. I know Howard Hanna's really, really big into Twilight open
Oh, I
houses.
go out at night and miss dinner.
I know,
Like,
I
okay.
know, I know. Yes, we can schedule in some of our own Twilight open
Okay.
houses. I think that would be great. It does hit a different demographic of people who like work on the weekends,
Yes.
you know what I mean, who are busy. I mean, the busiest thing in the summer, the hardest thing in the summer with the open houses is that people that have kids, they got softball games, they got cheerleading practice, they got
Mhm.
summer camp, their kids are like doing it. Kids today do 1,000 things,
Yeah.
So
You see
yeah,
the Twilights are worth it or no?
I
Does it
mean,
depend?
it just depends. I think you get different people at Twilights. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like the demographic is just different.
Yeah.
It's just different people. So I think it can be beneficial. I
Okay.
really think it can be. But again, marketing is key because most
Yeah.
open houses happen Sunday 1 to 3.
Literally.
The market says that Sunday 1 to 3 is open house time.
Yeah.
So you're really going to have to do that prep work in advance.
Yeah.
To say, we're doing a Twilight open house a Friday or whatever it is from 5 to 7 or whatever that is.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, marketing is going to be key. Also clustering open houses really is beneficial as well.
Yeah.
Clustering up and making sure like, hey, we're doing an open house from this time to this time on this date in Elwood City. And then we used to have like a map in advance. So if you went to one open house, we gave you a map to the other open houses
Mhm.
that were in the office so that we're bumping. Like you stop at each one and there's a prize for you at each one. Like at one you get a pen, the next you get like a cookie with our logo on it. The next one you get whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as they stop at every one, they get a prize to put in their bag. So that works really well too. Any other thoughts before I let you guys go? We're about 5 minutes over, but
I do have one question. With do you feel like the open houses, do you just have one for a house or do you ever have multiple like open houses for one house?
yeah. So that's really just depend on what you and the seller negotiate. So it can be part of your negotiation based on your commission rate. It could also just be a desire of the seller too. Some sellers will tell you, I don't want any open houses, and that's fine. If they don't want random people in their house, you have to respect that and just let that go. Other sellers are going to want you to have an open house once a week, every weekend, which is usually not sustainable. But coming up with an open house schedule for them is going to be ideal and really required at the listing appointment. And then there's some sellers is going to be like, do an open house or don't do an open house. I don't really care. So, you know what I mean? They're just going to be like, oh, do whatever you want. So it's going to really depend on the personality of the seller and your availability in time. Because if you have one listing, you could be there every Saturday or every Sunday. But when you start having a whole book of business where you have 60 listings at one time, it's just, there's no way to do it. You're gonna have to start phoning in a friend. So, and that's where you'll get those messages on the group Slack that says, hey, I need an open house on Sunday. Who can help me out here? It's because their seller's pushing for an open house and they're already sitting one. So a lot of times you got to phone a friend, or as you get more experienced, kind of like you're in the position right now, a couple of you where you're newly licensed or just getting your license, you know, you'll be, you know, teaming up with some agents here at the brokerage, kind of as a mentor type of situation. You will gravitate towards somebody and start building that relationship with them. And eventually, when you're no longer a newbie anymore, just remember that, so you can pass that down to the new people that are coming in. So, and those new people will be the ones who will gladly sit your open house, will gladly do it because they want to learn, they want to grow. All right, guys, I am going to let you go. I have my next appointment here, so I got to scoot off of here, but the recording will be available. It'll be on the agent website. So if you want to reference back to it later, I have some handouts here for those of you, I can't talk. For those of you that are not here, I'm going to have Tori scan those over to you. I'll also put a copy in your open house goodie bag that we'll have here for you at the office next week. I'll have Tori send out an email when those come in. Hey, Tori, do you have a pen and paper real quick?
I do right now.
Okay. Can you put Charlie B? We've got Belle on the line. We got Rebecca, Allison F, and Cheyenne. They all get free stuff. Woo! Woo woo! All right, guys, let me know if you need any. What's that? Everybody likes free stuff. All right, guys. Let me know if you need anything. Belle, I will see you later on this afternoon for a one-on-one, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you guys then, but call me if you need me.
Thanks so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Good one. Thank
Bye.
you.